9 fermenters in here, so 9 of these mash tanks. They're all 8,000 gallons each. That cooker over there is also 8,000 gallons, so that's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? We're going to cook all the grains in here with the water for about 4 hours or so. Once it's done cooking there, we sit it underneath our feet through some double layered pipes that have cold water on the outside of them. It'll chill it down, and then we fill one of these up. So this only takes about 90 minutes to fill one of these. Our fermentation is about 72 hours, right? So this one right here is kind of close. It's like beginning, trying to count this back, yeah, about end of second day, beginning of third. So you can see like there's a little bubble action going on from the fermentation.
A lot of bubble action.
Right, a little bit still happening. If you put your hand over, you feel the heat, and it looks like it's boiling, right?
Yeah.
But are you brave? Are you brave like I am?
Nope.
I am. You can touch it if you want.
Oh my gosh, doesn't that contaminate it?
It does not at all. You gotta remember, we're gonna put this through a still later. Nothing surviving in that still. You feel how good that feels? What's crazy is that you feel the heat on top and you see that it looks like it's boiling, so you'd expect it to be super hot. It kind of at this point tastes like alcoholic oatmeal. You can taste it too if you want. It's not gonna hurt you one bit. It's not bad, right? It's not bad. At this point, it's still a little sweet. It's about, 2/3 of the way through the process. So by the end of those 72 hours, we're looking at about 8 to 10% alcohol. I mean, that's a beer at that point. We made beer without hops. We made distiller's beer. The malt is really responsible for that, creating the diastase, so the yeast has something to eat. That's why you have to have malt, right? In whiskey, if you don't have malt, you're making polenta. You're not making beer, you're not making whiskey, right? So you have to have that malt in there. At this point, the yeast is starting to kind of die off a little bit. It's running out of sugars to eat, so that kind of top layer, a lot of that's the dead yeast. They'll kind of lay on top like that. So what's cool about this room is that you can kind of follow that process all the way through. So this one right here, this one's pretty much done. This is about 72 hours right here.
No bubbles.
No bubbles. It's got a big thick cap on top of there. It's sitting at about, 77 degrees, nice lukewarm, right? They're gonna drain this out after they're done cleaning that beer well over there, send it through the still and start pulling the alcohol out of it to create the white dog, right? But what's amazing about this is the one right next to it. This is brand new. This just got filled up probably 4 hours ago, maybe less. You can see nothing is happening right now.
Glossy.
Nothing at all, right? This one, straight up, first of all, it's very cold. It's like 67 degrees. It straight up tastes like cereal milk. It's all sugar right now. So it really shows you that yeast over a couple hours really does some magic. It really does a lot of neat stuff. Pretty good at this point.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting? So this and that are the exact same thing. It's just time. And what's cool about this building is you walk down this way, you're essentially walking forward in time. You can see every 8 hours is where these tanks are. So the one next to it's 8 hours older. The one after that's 8 hours older than that. You can see what's happening every 8 hours. That yeast is really changing it quite a bit.
Wow, okay.
It's amazing.
Very cool.
Tastes
Isn't that neat?
It is cool.
Taste it.
No.
Yeah, like you can see this one is probably only 12 hours old. So from here to here, same exact stuff. It's just changed 8 hours. That's it.
Huh.
And I love when it takes off like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Sometimes I can start it. Let's see if I can. There we go. Got a little chain reaction there.
Huh.
It's like playing in a bubble bath.
Yeah, it's very relaxing. If you're having a tough day, you just come in here and hang out and watch the mash and just chill out for a little bit. Yeah, it's an amazing process. It's an amazing process. And this is weeded bourbon, so weeded bourbon will tend to not foam up as much. It kind of looks like after only about somewhere between here and here, it gets a very white foam on top of it, and it tastes like coconut meringue, and it looks like cheesecake.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really interesting. Bourbon's just amazing. I mean, bourbon's just incredible. Just incredible.
Weeded bourbon, so where will the weeded bourbon go?
Dareringer.
Dareringer.
Yeah, the base of Dareringer is that weeded bourbon Nashville.
Okay.
Who knows? It may become a product on its own at some point. I mean, you got to think so far out ahead, right? The actual fermentation and distillation process is only taking at most 4 days, right? I mean, from
You said Dareringer, right?
Dareringer, yeah.
So you said it right.
Okay.
Oh, Dareringer, yeah.
There-
call it
Dareringer, because that's the way we spell it.
Right.
The reason we spell it Dareringer is because it's really, every bottle has a story label. So Cave Hill, you know, while you're in Louisville, if you have time to go to Cave Hill, it's a cemetery in Louisville. It's where all the distillers are buried. Muhammad Ali is buried there. Colonel Sanders is buried there. I got a bunch of relatives buried there. It's beautiful. And so Cave wanted to name Cave Hill after a spot where a lot of old distillers are resting, right? Whereas Boxer Grail is named after that spirit of boxing in Louisville, and huge culture of Louisville. Dareringer is named after the biggest influence in Cave's life, which is Heather, his wife, right? So if you look at the spelling, it's spelled Dareringer. It's because Heather dared Cave to open a bourbon distillery, and he did, but she's been his ringer. She's been in his corner, really the muse.
Okay.
And you think about, you know, even further into that, he was a Scotch drinker. He loved sherried finished Scotches. She turned him into a bourbon drinker. We figured, why can't I take part of that from my old life, put it in my new life, and make a sherry finished bourbon? That's where Dareringer really comes from. It's really about the love story.
Very cool. Love story on our anniversary. How about that?
There you go, right? This was really want to have a good time. Make sure you're very steady when you do this. Woo! Lots of CO2 on top of that. Sometimes if it's bright time in the morning, you can kind of see some of the vapor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like you can really see some of the vapor hanging out on top. You can't see the CO2 obviously, but you can see some of the vapor kind of hanging out on top of this mash tank sometimes.
It's like launching a bubble.
Very cool. So right now we do about 60 to 70 barrels a day with those 9 fermenters in there. So we're emptying 3 of them a day. Those 3 are going to give you about 60 to 70, depending on what you're fermenting, right? By adding 3 more fermenters, same side, we're going to increase that by about 30%. So once these come online, we're really going to be hitting that about 100 barrel a day mark.
Wow.
We're going to go up to about 27,000 barrels when they come online a year, and that's going to get us pretty close to that 2 million proof gallons a year mark. So we're just expanding, and I mean, really, we haven't expanded, but I don't even know what size this is.
Now the 2 million gallons a year, is that to meet demand, or is that because you want to produce different?
To meet demand.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess a little bit of both, right? About 5% of our production is geared towards experimentation, which is like, you know, sounds small when you think about, you know, the amount that we're doing. That's definitely not a drop in the bucket, right? It's a lot.
Right.
You know, 5% of 2 million proof gallons is quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, experimentation in terms of new mash bills, different finishes, right? Different proofs, things like that. But yeah, to meet demand is a huge part of it. We have grown exponentially since we started. So to kind of put that in context, you know, we opened this building. We've been distilling since 2014. We were contract distilling in Northern Kentucky at a distillery in Northern Kentucky before we had this place built. So we took all of our grains, all of our yeast, told them what type of barrels we want to use, all the little synchronicities of you know, batching and you know, fermentation levels, all that really matches what we do. We wanted them to match that for us. Now, we built this in 2018. So since 2018, everything that we're making comes out of here, out of this mill. What that really means is that in 2018 we started. Now in 2021, not only are we, you know, the fastest growing distillery in the country, we got onto the bourbon trail faster than any other distillery that started. We got onto the bourbon trail, I think 8 months after we opened our doors. 4 months after that, we're in the top tier of the bourbon trail, which is called the Heritage Trail. So we are the fastest growing distillery out there. We are continuing to sell. The rick houses I was talking about earlier, we've got 2 built and filled now. We're building the 3rd right now. Should have that done in a couple months. We're looking to build 1 rick house every year. So that can show you how much, and those rick houses hold 20,000 barrels plus. So they can show you how much we're planning to grow
You're going to use the
during
same
the next
campus
decade.
for all the rick houses?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're all going to be really close together. Down there in Henry County, it's about 40 minutes from here.
Okay.
All steel rick houses, everything's steel. Everything's like this color, this kind of darker gray color. The really good part of this is that in the winter, sometimes barrels will stop aging because it gets so cold that wood gets very hard. It's not passing in and out of that layer. If you're using this color steel, you can tell that it's got heat on it from the sun. It's going to retain heat. It's going to continue to age those barrels even during the winter. Oh, all the way down the hallway, it spells there's no going back.
Okay.
So right now,
Okay.
we're ironically going back down the hallway, but yeah.
All right. So how long is it going to take before these are up and running?
I ask myself that every day. because I really want to park in that parking lot. I would imagine these are going to come online in the next couple months. I mean, they're almost done. You can see they've laid all the concrete. They're building up the retaining walls in it right now. They're going to put a glass dome on top, so when you're inside the atrium there, you can look over and see them. Oh yeah, I want to show you this. It's kind of cool. So our bottles have that sash, the label, right? Look at the stairwells. Look how they're built. They're supposed to be like the sashes on the label.
Okay,
on the
yeah.
labels. Isn't that cool? I love that. That's a really cool part of the architecture here.